So, adding on to the 8th of July, every day's been hell for years. They've internalised my ability to think for myself. In other words, you don't get a life at all. What I mean is you haven't got control over your life or power over your life. You don't get any perception of life. You're not involved in life. You're in a robotic state with your own ability to think for yourself internalised. And when it's internalised, all they do is mess around. So all the officers do is get sadistic, perverted and barbaric pleasure out of relativising stuff like homosexuality. In your day-to-day life, they'll relativise stuff that's unpleasant, illegal, degrading, humiliating every day. This has been every day now for over 8 years, if not more. They've completely destroyed my life. I cannot defend it. I'm being forced into stuff I don't want to do. Sexual degrading, sexual humiliating, homosexual degrading. They are relativising illegal sexual acts through the institutional self to get sadistic and perverted pleasure out of it. In other words, they've got possession of me and they've forced me into disgusting illegal acts that it's illegal. This is why the police force and the probation service have got the power they've got. It's not what you see in society. It's because they're committing sadistic crime against somebody and you don't realise it. You don't realise the crimes they're committing against you. If you've ever been assaulted, or you've ever taken drugs, or you've ever done something humiliating, or you've been, for example, raped, or you've gone through a particularly nasty situation, not necessarily always sexually, assaults, robberies, any kind of like where your power's been jeopardised as such, or you feel degraded or humiliated, there's an officer behind it. There's an officer behind it, and the second I say it, you'll be told you're paranoid, you're on drugs, you're on alcohol, but it's not the case. The fact of the matter is, crime itself, drugs itself, alcohol itself, mental health itself is a synthetic and integrated label. Synthetic as in defined as man-made almost, that's what I'll say. It's an integrated label, it's a load of rubbish. It's integrated as an alibi is in a getaway to commit crime. In summary, the labels that are integrated or put in society like drugs, crime, mental health, alcoholism, problems with drugs, alcohol, it's a lot of rubbish. They've done it themselves. The system does it itself to kill off bloodline or to commit crime, or not necessarily with the main objective or the definite job to kill bloodlines, but the fact is the numbers and the statistics are definitely damning, because the bloodlines that have died through crime and drugs are absolutely vast, and the bloodlines in society are getting cleaner and cleaner. But they will all, the higher classes, the upper classes will always blame the working classes and say that's natural selection. The strongest bloodlines are smart enough not to do these acts, and the dirty bloodlines are always tending to commit crime. They're always tending or more likely to take drugs or alcohol. It's the biggest load of rubbish I've ever read in my life. They're basically criminalising bloodlines that they don't want to cleanse society. This has been happening for years, yeah. Since World War II, the cleansing bloodlines. They started this when they started killing the Jews. And I'm not by no chance comparing the modern justice system to World War II or Auschwitz or any of these like gassing chambers or anything. But I've been in prison myself personally, and I don't need to. I've been in hostels also. And I've also watched the news. You don't have to experience these places yourself. And some of the sights I've seen are inhumane to the extent of torture, as I am myself, because I'm in absolute agony most of the days. These situations are never resolved, and the perpetrators or the offenders working within the justice system, they're never held accountable. So there's no consequences for using institutionalisation as a tool or a device to commit crime. And I have seen some very sadistic and cruel stuff by institutionalisation, by officers, so that they can get perverted and sadistic pleasure that will be covered up as their job, apparently their job to incriminate people. But they're drunk on power. Misconduct is rife, crime is rife amongst officers. It is an absolute shambles, because they're not jailing them, They're not jailing the officers committing crime. So they're running off with people's lives in the system, in a controlled state. They're committing perverted crime, sexual crime, they're committing these injustices rife, misconduct is rife, as I've just said, misuse of information, information's rife, leaks are rife, because they've got full access to your information and there's nothing preventing it. They've got full access to your life with nothing preventing it. It's quite serious. The problem's been serious. I've been going through this now for 8 years, so the problem's been rife for 8 years. I remember a spike in knife crimes, suicides and murders 8 years ago, 9 years ago. And I've seen some very sick stuff by officers. I've seen them strangling, using institutionalisation to suffocate people to death. I've seen them using institutionalisation to commit sadistic and perverted crime where they've... I don't want to upload it. I don't want to really disclose the sexual humiliation that I've been around on offenders when they've been forced into it and such. It's forced homosexuality. Forced homosexuality is illegal, and whatever sadistic pain they get out of it or sadistic pleasure they get out of it, it's, well, they'll claim it's their job, but I don't believe it is. Any kind of sexual humiliation or degrading is an illegal crime either way. So it doesn't make a difference, does it?
Oh, you're in hold the bag. Go, Pete. You're in hold the bag or something. Oh, fuck, man.
Yeah, so as of July the 8th, this is an ongoing problem that's been persisting for quite some time. It's definitely not just me. I've classed it on the channel as a crime against humanity, and I've classed it as that because of the amount of deaths I've seen. So to define the crime against humanity, they segregated a select group of people, which is classed as the working class as such, but it's just the bloodline. And they're committing sadistic and perverted crime against them. It's illegal. I've seen some of the most cruel stuff, it's unbelievable.